Welcome to Truth Report. I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the stories shaping our world, exposing the hidden power plays and critical implications that mainstream media often overlooks. From a contentious election in Bangladesh to the opaque dealings of global finance and the haunting shadows of institutional rot, we're connecting the dots on how power operates.
We'll delve into a surprising political shift in Bangladesh, where a party claims victory after a major uprising, and question the true nature of this democratic turn. We'll also examine the burgeoning e-bike industry, scrutinizing the forces behind new legislation and the studies promoting its benefits.
Later, we expose the chilling revelations surrounding the Epstein files, unraveling how they lay bare the decay at the heart of our most fundamental institutions. We'll investigate high-stakes economic diplomacy between China and the US, looking past the headlines to see who truly benefits from proposed manufacturing funds.
And finally, we'll turn to Hong Kong, where a massive arts hub has secured a lifeline, but at what potential cost to its artistic independence and the public interest? Join us as we uncover the truth behind these narratives, revealing the patterns of influence and control. First tonight, a significant development out of Bangladesh. The opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or BNP, is claiming a landslide victory in what it says is the nation's first election since a major popular uprising in 2024. According to Al Jazeera, the party, led by Tariq Rahman, has declared it will form the government by Sunday.
This is a dramatic turn in Bangladeshi politics, Alex. The BNP's claim comes after years of intense political turmoil, including the alleged 2024 uprising, which was a pivotal moment of public unrest against the incumbent Awami League government. The context of this victory, if confirmed, is crucial to understand.
Indeed, Maya. The BNP's claim of a landslide win must be viewed through the lens of Bangladesh's deeply contentious political landscape. The 2024 uprising wasn't just a protest, it was a widespread movement demanding democratic reforms and protesting alleged authoritarian tendencies of the then-ruling party. Many international observers have raised concerns about the fairness of previous elections.
Absolutely. The BNP, led by Tariq Rahman, has a complex and often controversial history. Rahman himself has lived in exile in London for years, facing multiple charges in absentia, including corruption and a 2004 Grenade attack. His leadership from afar and the party's previous boycotts of elections in 2014 and 2024 raise serious questions about the legitimacy of this sudden, overwhelming victory.
This landslide victory, if genuine, would signal a massive shift. But is it truly a triumph of democracy, or a carefully orchestrated return to power by a different set of elites? Given the past, we have to ask, who verified this election? What was the voter turnout like, and were international observers allowed unfettered access to polling stations? These details are conspicuously absent from the initial reports.
Precisely. The phrasing claims landslide win is critical here. Without independent verification, this could be seen as a strategic declaration to consolidate power and preemptively legitimize their new government. The 2024 uprising created a power vacuum and immense pressure for change, but we must scrutinize whether this election truly reflects the will of the people or a faction seizing the moment.
So, who benefits from this outcome? Clearly, the BNP and Tariq Rahman benefit directly from returning to power, potentially ending years of political marginalization and legal battles. Their supporters would see this as a victory for democracy and a rejection of the previous government.
However, the public could be left wondering about the long-term stability. While an end to the previous government might be welcomed, the return of a party whose leadership faces serious allegations and has a history of political polarization could easily reignite cycles of unrest and vengeance. The promise of stability can quickly become a mirage.
This political maneuvering in Bangladesh also has broader implications for regional power structures. Bangladesh is strategically vital in South Asia. A government perceived as unstable or illegitimate, or one that shifts its foreign policy allegiances, could impact trade, security, and humanitarian efforts across the region.
Indeed. Major global powers, including the US, China, and India, closely monitor Bangladesh's political stability. A sudden and dramatic shift in power, especially following an uprising and with a controversial leader, could lead to a reassessment of international relations and potentially influence aid, investment, and strategic alliances, pushing the country further into a geopolitical tug-of-war. Moving now to a story about urban transportation and public health. This week on Electrek's Wheelie podcast, a new automatic shifting e-bike from Trek was highlighted, alongside discussions about new e-bike laws across the US, and a study suggesting e-bikes can benefit brain health.
On the surface, this sounds like good news for commuters and public health, Maya. E-bikes are seen as a green alternative and a way to encourage more people to cycle. But we need to look closer at the implications of these new e-bike laws and the motivations behind promoting their brain benefits.
Absolutely, Alex. The mention of a whole host of potential new e-bike laws from around the US immediately raises a red flag for investigative journalists. While some regulations are necessary for safety, we must ask, who is lobbying for these laws, and whose interests do they truly serve? Are they designed to create safer public spaces or to standardize the market for major manufacturers like Trek?
It's a classic case of industry shaping regulation. As e-bike sales surge, manufacturers and related industries have a vested interest in creating a favorable legal landscape. These laws could involve anything from speed limits and age restrictions to where e-bikes can be ridden, potentially limiting access for some while creating lucrative new market segments for others.
And let's not overlook the study that shows the impacts of e-bikes on your brain. While physical activity generally benefits cognitive function, we need to scrutinize the funding and methodology of such a study. Is it an independent scientific endeavor, or is it funded by the e-bike industry itself, cleverly designed to boost public perception and sales?
That's a critical point. Companies often commission or fund research that supports their products, generating positive headlines that can influence consumer behavior and policymakers. Presenting e-bikes as a brain booster alongside discussions of new laws could be a coordinated strategy to normalize and accelerate their adoption, potentially without a full understanding of urban planning impacts or safety concerns.
So, who benefits most from these developments? Clearly, e-bike manufacturers like Trek benefit from both increased sales due to positive health messaging and a clearer regulatory framework that simplifies market entry and expansion. Urban planning departments might also see benefits in reduced car dependency, but at what cost to existing infrastructure?
The public potentially benefits from more active transportation and reduced emissions, but they also risk being subjected to regulations that might not fully address their needs or safety concerns. Pedestrians and traditional cyclists, for example, might find shared spaces becoming more crowded and potentially hazardous if speed limits aren't rigorously enforced.
This narrative around e-bikes connects to broader power structures in several ways. We're seeing the influence of corporate lobbying on local and state governments to standardize and legitimize an emerging industry. It's a pattern where private interests often drive public policy under the guise of progress or public benefit.
Furthermore, the push for e-bikes reflects a larger trend in urban development and environmental policy, often championed by technocrats and industry leaders. While the goals of sustainability and active living are commendable, the path to achieving them can be heavily influenced by those who stand to profit from the solutions they propose, rather than genuinely community-led initiatives. Our next story takes us into the darkest corners of power and privilege. Consortium News reports on Patrick Lawrence's piece, Epstein and the Age of Unreason, which argues that as the rock is lifted on the Epstein files, we find beneath it the rot of our foundational institutions and the beyond-belief nihilism of those who control them.
This isn't just a sensational headline, Alex, it's a profound indictment. Lawrence's analysis speaks to the systemic nature of the Epstein scandal, suggesting it's not merely about one depraved individual, but a sprawling network that implicates the very pillars of society, the judiciary, law enforcement, political class, and even academia.
The article highlights that the revelations of the sordid, bottomlessly corrupt affair are not just shocking details, but a mirror reflecting the moral decay within our foundational institutions. It implies a deliberate obfuscation, a coordinated effort by those in power to protect their own, regardless of the horrific crimes committed.
The beyond-belief nihilism of those who control them is a particularly chilling phrase. It suggests a profound lack of moral compass among the elite, where human suffering is secondary to personal gain, status, or simply the maintenance of power. This isn't just negligence, it's an active disregard for justice and human dignity.
This analysis forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about how the wealthy and powerful operate, often existing above the law. The delayed and piecemeal release of the Epstein files, and the seeming impunity of many connected individuals, speaks volumes about the extent to which these foundational institutions are compromised.
Indeed. It's a system designed to protect itself. When the justice system, meant to uphold the law, and the political system, meant to represent the people, are implicated in shielding such heinous activities, it fundamentally undermines public trust and chips away at the very fabric of democratic accountability.
So, who benefits from this age of unreason and the sustained secrecy around the Epstein network? Clearly, the individuals who were complicit or involved benefit by avoiding public scrutiny and legal repercussions. The entire power structure that enables such behavior also benefits by maintaining its opaque operations.
The losers are undoubtedly the victims of Epstein's crimes, whose pursuit of justice is continually hampered by the powerful forces at play. Beyond them, the general public loses faith in institutions that are supposed to protect them and ensure justice. It erodes the fundamental belief in equality under the law.
This case is a stark illustration of how deep-seated power structures work to protect their own, often at the expense of justice and truth. It exposes a nexus where wealth, influence, and a compromised legal system converge to create a shield for the elite, demonstrating a profound imbalance in how justice is administered.
It's a powerful testament to how a culture of impunity can permeate the highest echelons of society. The Epstein scandal serves as a horrifying example of how those who control our institutions can pervert them to serve their own depraved interests, leaving a legacy of institutional rot that is incredibly difficult to excise.
We turn now to international diplomacy and economic strategy. The South China Morning Post reports that China is mulling a U.S. manufacturing fund ahead of a critical Xi-Trump summit in April. According to James Zimmerman, chairman of the American Chamber of Commerce in China, several very positive outcomes are expected, though not a grand bargain.
This is a fascinating development, Alex, especially with the mention of optics and the focus on announcing deals like aircraft and soybean sales. It suggests that while the summit might not yield a comprehensive trade agreement, both sides are keen to present a narrative of progress and cooperation, especially for domestic audiences.
Precisely. Zimmerman's comments highlight the strategic signaling at play. A U.S. manufacturing fund from China could be interpreted as a goodwill gesture, an attempt to address American concerns about trade imbalances and job losses. However, the details of such a fund, its size, its focus, and its governance, will be critical to understanding its true impact.
We also need to consider the timing. With a presidential summit on the horizon, these types of announcements are often carefully choreographed. Is this fund a genuine, long-term economic initiative, or a short-term concession designed to smooth over tensions and secure a politically advantageous meeting for both President Xi and President Trump?
The optics are undoubtedly important for President Trump, who often prioritizes tangible deals and job creation narratives for his base. Aircraft and soybean sales are classic examples of highly visible, high-value transactions that can be easily touted as successes, regardless of the broader trade relationship's complexities.
But it begs the question, who truly benefits from these specific deals? While American farmers and aerospace companies might see short-term gains, are these agreements sustainable? And does a fund, potentially driven by Chinese state interests, truly benefit American manufacturing workers or primarily Chinese strategic objectives?
The primary beneficiaries are likely specific U.S. industries and their political allies who secure lucrative contracts. China, in turn, benefits from improved optics, potentially diffusing trade tensions and gaining leverage in other diplomatic areas. The broader American manufacturing base might see little long-term change if the fund is too small or too narrowly focused.
The general public on both sides might perceive these as victories for economic cooperation, but the reality could be far more nuanced. This kind of deal-making often prioritizes specific corporate interests and political agendas over comprehensive, equitable economic policies that genuinely benefit the average citizen.
This entire scenario underscores the powerful influence of business lobbies like the American Chamber of Commerce in China. They act as crucial conduits, shaping narratives and facilitating discussions that directly impact high-level diplomatic and economic policy. Their insights are not just observations, they are often active endorsements of a specific agenda.
Indeed. This kind of economic diplomacy is rarely about pure free markets, it's about strategic state capitalism and geopolitical positioning. A manufacturing fund could be a tool for China to gain technological access or influence supply chains, while the U.S. uses it to claim a win on job creation, illustrating a complex web of interwoven power structures. Our final story brings us to Hong Kong, where the West Kowloon Cultural District Authority has reportedly averted a funding crisis. According to the South China Morning Post, the Arts Hub has secured a $3 billion Hong Kong dollars, 10-year loan facility, in addition to an earlier $1 billion bond sale program.
This sounds like a much-needed lifeline, Maya, for a massive cultural project that has faced significant financial challenges. Bernard Chan, the board chairman, noted this financing will support the hub for the coming decade until its residential property development starts generating income. But the devil, as always, is in the details of such substantial financial arrangements.
Absolutely. A $3 billion Hong Kong dollars loan, equivalent to nearly $384 million, is a massive sum, even for a project of this scale. The fact that it's a longer than usual 10-year loan facility suggests the funding crisis was quite severe, and that long-term stability remains a concern. What were the specific terms of the bond sale and this new loan? Who are the lenders?
These details are crucial for understanding the true cost and implications. Is this loan from commercial banks, or is it government-backed? The source of the funding can reveal who holds influence over the hub's future direction. Relying on residential property development for future income also raises questions about the core mission of an arts and cultural district.
Indeed. While commercial development can provide revenue, it can also shift the focus from artistic integrity and public accessibility to maximizing profit. Will the need to generate income from luxury residences dictate the kind of art and cultural programming that takes place, potentially alienating local artists and the broader community?
The narrative of averting a funding crisis often masks deeper structural issues. Was the original financial model for the West Kowloon Cultural District flawed from the start? Was there a lack of foresight in its planning, or have external factors, perhaps political or economic, exacerbated its financial woes?
So, who ultimately benefits from this new financing? The West Kowloon Cultural District Authority clearly benefits from continued operation and the ability to complete its projects. The lenders benefit from interest payments and potentially increased influence over the district's assets. High-end property developers and buyers also stand to gain from the prestige of the cultural district.
However, the public, particularly artists and local communities, could lose out if the hub becomes overly commercialized or inaccessible. If the debt burden forces the district to prioritize revenue-generating activities over diverse, community-focused cultural offerings, its initial vision could be significantly compromised.
This situation reflects broader power structures in Hong Kong, where major infrastructure and cultural projects are often intertwined with real estate development and government-backed financing. It shows how even cultural institutions can become dependent on commercial interests and political patronage, potentially compromising their independence and public service mandate.
It underscores a model where public cultural assets are increasingly monetized, becoming part of a larger economic strategy rather than purely artistic endeavors. The long-term implications for Hong Kong's cultural identity, particularly under shifting political realities, are significant, with a risk that cultural expression becomes subservient to financial viability. Maya, looking across these seemingly disparate stories, a powerful pattern emerges: the pervasive influence of deeply entrenched power structures operating behind a veil of plausible deniability. From global geopolitics to local urban planning, the forces shaping our world are often hidden in plain sight, dictating outcomes under the guise of progress or public good.
Absolutely, Alex. In Bangladesh, we see the potential for a new political elite to seize power following public unrest, presenting a landslide victory that demands scrutiny. The question isn't just who won, but whether the electoral process was genuinely free and fair, or if it was manipulated by a well-connected faction leveraging a moment of instability.
Then we look at the e-bike industry, where brain benefits and new laws are discussed in the same breath. This isn't just about innovation, it's about powerful corporations actively shaping public perception and regulatory landscapes, often funding the research that supports their products, while presenting it as independent scientific truth.
And the chilling revelations hinted at in the Epstein files are perhaps the most damning indictment. They expose a systemic rot of beyond-belief nihilism within our foundational institutions, where the powerful protect their own, perverting justice and demonstrating a profound disregard for human suffering. It's a stark reminder of who truly controls the levers of accountability.
The Xi-Trump summit negotiations reveal how economic diplomacy is often driven by optics and specific corporate deals, rather than genuine, long-term equitable trade. The proposed manufacturing fund and aircraft sales serve as strategic tools for political gain and maintaining a narrative of progress, while the deeper issues remain unresolved.
And in Hong Kong, the financial rescue of a major arts hub, while seemingly positive, highlights its perilous dependency on commercial real estate and large-scale loans. It underscores how even cultural institutions can become pawns in grander economic and political strategies, risking their artistic independence to satisfy financial backers and developers.
Across all these stories, the same threads appear: the manipulation of public perception, the influence of corporate and political elites on policy and law, and the constant struggle between transparency and the self-preservation of powerful institutions. The truth is rarely simple, and seldom without strings attached.
These stories collectively paint a picture of an age where power is consolidated, and accountability is often elusive. Our role, and your role as engaged citizens, is to look beyond the headlines, question the narratives, and demand transparency from those who wield influence.
That's all the time we have for this edition of Truth Report. We hope we've given you a deeper understanding of the forces at play in the news, and the critical questions we must all continue to ask.
Thank you for joining us as we work to uncover the true implications of these stories. The truth is often complex, sometimes uncomfortable, but always essential.
For Maya Clarity, I'm Alex Truth. We'll see you next time on Truth Report.
Stay